To maintain a gas fleet that is idle by design most of the time, won't we end up paying significant subsidies through the capacity market? And if we can't store all the energy we can generate, won't we also be paying renewables not to generate electricity? How does the government intend to minimise the amount of money we'll spend paying power plants not to generate power?
Chris might want to have a go at this, but I think there's two separate issues going on here. One is the role of gas in a 2030 clean power system. In our work, and indeed in the definitions that the NESO had of a clean power system, gas is operational for a maximum of 5% of the time. It's playing a different role in the system. It's playing a backup role. That is a really important role for the periods that were raised when renewables aren't necessarily operating at a sufficient level. That is, in our view, a value for money system, and indeed we believe it can reduce costs and bills. There's then a second question about how we make sure that we have the grid, and it's really a grid issue and a where is the generation issue that can make sure that we don't have these massive curtailment payments that we have at the moment. And so both of those things are part of what we're doing, and that's why we need to build, for example, all the grid we need, and that's why we're being much more intentional in our Clean Power Action Plan about where is this generation going to be built. I mean, I think it is worth saying to the committee, we are changing the mindset here from what I call neglect and delay to plan and build. We're saying what's needed for a 2030 clean power system, where does that generation need to be, what's the grid we need, and what's the generation we need to approve, and how do we get it the grid connection. So that's a very different mindset and a very different system.
The question is, have we got the time to do it? Because it takes such a long time to plan. We made the title of our report, Get On With It. It seems to me that criticising the previous government may be fair, but the question is, how quickly can you actually deliver something when you're still planning it now?
Well, we are confident we can deliver, and indeed don't take my word for it, but look at what the NESO report said, which is they said it's very, very challenging, but it is achievable. And I think it's really interesting when I think about the sentiment in the energy industry. When we first proposed 2030 clean power, I would say there was a fair degree of skepticism. I'm sure some are still skeptical, but the industry, I think, has now recognised the pace at which we're moving, some of which I talked about in my opening statement, is a government that is really serious about this. And so, of course, it's hard. I mean, it is hard. It is challenging. I think Chris once called it Herculean, but that's why I hired him. But it's Herculean.
Need to move on.
But achievable.
Thank you very much.